Well, hello there everyone, my name is Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome to Crafty Reads, the video where I craft something and we talk about the last 5 books that I've read. Today, I'm actually working on a project I can show you, and that is this tote bag for my sister-in-law. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. She picked the colors, and I have just been working on it. So I am at the stage where I need to join up the sides. So that is what I'm going to be doing while we chat. But other than that, let's get into the books. Okay, the first book that I picked up, I'm not going to talk very much about, even though I freaking loved it, and that's Golem Girl by Riva Lehrer. The reason I'm not going to talk about this too much. Oh, by the way, the plant for today is a philodendron scadens. This is just a little pup from my bigger one, and the scent is patchouli. So let me scooch that there over. Okay, cool. Riva Lehrer is an artist, and this is her memoir. This piece on the front here is one of her pieces. And she does some absolutely stunning works within her disabled community. She does a lot of like really empowering and very personal portraits of like a whole host of people that she comes into contact with, because this is basically the memoir of a queer woman, or basically she uses she her pronouns, but she's realized, because like she was born in the 50s, so these words were a little bit newer to her. They've been around obviously, but to her they were very new. And she says that agender is probably what describes her most, but she does use she her pronouns. So it's about a queer Jewish artist who is living with spina bifida, and she loses her mother very young. So there's like a lot to her story, a lot. Like growing up with something like this, like you are in operations from when you're a tiny child, so like pain becomes like a part of your life, which is so intense. But she writes in such a compelling way. It's like you're having a chat to someone and they're telling you their life story in a very casual manner, and then it's littered with pictures, like different paintings that she did and the names of them, and then at the back she goes through each one and who it was and who the subject was and how they came about that style of portrait, and it was beautiful. But if you want to hear more details, I have a vlog coming, a themed vlog. It's themed along this line, so if you can guess what it is, guess in the comments down below. If you want to watch that vlog, then subscribe. Then I read What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. I picked this one up on Libby. I completely forgot about checking my Libby, and I found some really good titles on there, along with one of the newer Kate Alice Marshalls. I read one of her YAs, and I cannot remember its name, but it was freaking great, a while back, and I wanted to pick up her writing again. So this is an adult thriller, and we're following our main character Naomi, and when she's 11, her and her friends Cassidy and Olivia find this body in the woods where they play. They don't tell anyone about her, and they just call her Persephone, and they play like a bunch of games and stuff around her. And one day when they're coming out of the hollow where they found the body, Naomi gets attacked and her friends go for help, and they end up getting this man arrested on what her friends said that they saw, basically, because she was in like a critical condition and like couldn't remember a lot of what happened because she was, you know, getting stabbed. So it's a bit distracting, tiny bit distracting. So then let me move this bloody stitch marker pissing me off. So then we're brought into the present day when Naomi is like in her 30s. She's got a very significant scar on her face from that attack, and she's working as a wedding photographer when she gets the news that the man that was sent to prison for attacking her and murdering a bunch of other women has died in prison, because it happened when she was 11. And it's like brings up a lot of mixed emotions, but it also brings up a lot it brings up a lot for Naomi to deal with, because Olivia, one of her friends, has just mentally never been able to deal with what happened. and she's always been quite mentally fragile, and she calls Naomi back home to their small town because she says they need to talk, her and Cassidy need to talk about, you know, what happened. So Naomi goes back home and she has to really confront a lot of different characters that she's completely left behind from her past. Some really like harmful characters. She's got to deal with Cassidy's dad or Cassidy's parents, her brother who's like not a very nice character, her dad who like Naomi's dad, who is living in a hoarding situation, which is very intense. And when Naomi gets there, she's basically interrupting a policeman coming in and warning him, like, you need to tidy this shit up, otherwise I'm going to give you like a warning because this is not safe. So Naomi goes in having to deal with a lot of things, and all kinds of thrilling things ensue. There's murder, there's intrigue, there's obviously there's twists, and then the twist twists when you think it's done twisting, which was really interesting. Like I thought I saw what was coming and then I didn't at all, but a lot of the stuff was also, I didn't think that I guessed anything throughout the story. I really think it was well crafted. Like it wasn't my favorite thriller in the world, it was just fine. But I really do enjoy Kate Ellis Marshall's writing, and I think she's got some more stuff on her backlist that I haven't read, so I'm definitely going to keep on picking up her stuff, even though this one wasn't my absolute favorite. Then I read Full Disclosure by Camryn Garrett. This is a YA about a teen character called Simone, who is HIV positive. She's basically adopted, and she has two gay dads, and she got HIV from her mother, her birth mother. And she's basically at school, like completely just living as things are, like as if things are completely normal. She hasn't told her friends, she hasn't told anyone at the school whatsoever, like no one knows except her family. And she's very, very keen to get her her levels undetectable so that she doesn't have to feel obligated to tell people about it, because if you're undetectable, you're untransmissible and transmittable. Is that the right word? In the previous school that she was at, she told a friend about her status, and her friend proceeded to spread it to everyone and then made life at school an absolute living hell. So she's determined that that's not going to happen at this school. So she's going about her life directing the school play, which is ironically Rent. And she's starting to really like catch the eyes of this beautiful black lacrosse player called Miles. And they start to have a little bit of a flirtation, a little bit of romance. And she's high as a kite. She thinks everything is absolutely wonderful. She's chuffed as hell. You know, she's directing this play. The boy she likes her back. You know, everything's great. And then she gets a letter in her locker, which she doesn't visit very often. So she completely forgot. Like, oh yeah, I should check my locker. Goes to check her locker, and there are ominous letters in there that are basically saying, if you can keep hanging out with Miles, I'm going to tell everyone that you have HIV, which is fucking horrendous. So she has now got to navigate what the hell to do and how to and how to tackle this. Does she tell everyone? Does she preempt it and tell everyone what's happening? Does she try to find out who it is? Does she report it to the principal? She has to try and figure all of that out. And I think she is such a wonderful character that goes through a lot of character development. And she's very strong. And I know that's like a really lame thing to say, like, oh, this person with HIV, this black girl, she's so strong. But like, I just mean strong-willed. And she manages to like, to handle certain very sensitive events in a very mature manner. And it just made me really, really like her as a character. And it just also gives you a few different examples of the reactions that people get when they find out that another person has HIV, and then how that impacts the person that you're talking to. So I think a lot of people can see that and sort of get a guide of what not to do or what to do if someone ever comes to you with this kind of information. And yeah, I this has been on my For You, not my For You page. This has been on my TBR forever. And I found it in a bargain books, like completely by surprise, and I'm so glad I picked it up. Really, really solid YA. Then I read a book that made me frigging cry, and that's Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. Emma Donoghue writes great historical fiction, and I decided to give her a go from the library to see if I enjoyed her writing or whether it was a bit dire. And then I realized that I did really like it when I read The Wonder, so I bought this one. And Pull of the Stars is following, what is our main character's name? What's her name? Julia. So we're following this nurse called Julia who is working at a hospital in Dublin during the Spanish influenza, which is during First World War. And she is the nurse of the maternity ward of all the patients who also happen to have the flu, the Spanish influenza. So all of her patients are incredibly sick as well as being incredibly pregnant at the same time. The staff is they're so short-staffed all the time. People are dropping like flies. It is like it's a harrowing situation. Like, holy crap, they like trigger warnings, there's child death in here and all of those horrible things, death of mothers as well. But it's just so scary to think of those days when that was basically it's just so scary to think back to those days, because all of their supplies of actual medication was so limited that they used some things that are like would never be used today. So like they were giving the mothers warm whiskey as a treatment, which is obviously the opposite of what they would be doing these days, but that's literally all they had to try and help these women, which was freaking wild. But the nurse gets a helper for the day, and her name is Bridie, and she came in from the local, like she used to be an orphan and now she's staying at the orphanage and working, and she comes in to help Julia during like absolutely harrowing shifts where doctors are in there in the most fleeting manners possible. Like they're hardly ever in there. They're basically in there to declare that a baby has been born or declare that someone has died. It's quite an intense situation. So Bridie is like a massive help, and she's just got a really beautiful spirit. She brings a really hopeful feeling to like a very dire ward, and she like really makes the patients feel better. She really makes Julia feel supported, and their relationship is absolutely beautiful. And I was reading this book and I was like, I don't know where this is going, and I'm scared, and I should have been scared, because I ended up frigging crying. I did not expect it. It takes a lot for a book to make me cry, but it got a little bit gay, and then it made me fucking cry, and it was beautifully done, and I think it's probably on my best books of the year. So I need to learn to not be such a freaking chicken and stop picking up books that I'm like, no, that's definitely going to make me cry, because it is nice to feel things. So yeah. I got bad proprioception, can you tell? So Pull of the Stars made me cry. Very good. Recommend. And then the last book that I picked up was Lark and Kasim Start a Revolution by Kacen Callender. Now this one I started during the Trans Rights Readathon, which was way back, but Everand took it away from me for a little while. So I started listening to What Lies in the Woods, and that was an audiobook from the library, so I had to listen to that first because I had like a deadline when I needed to get it back by. So finally I got to read the rest of Lark and Kasim, and I'm so glad because Callender Callender is wonderful. They can do no wrong. I've loved all of their writing, and this one was just as solid. Just as solid. So we're following our main character Lark, who is a writer. They have a very popular Twitter account, and they're also writing a book about this character called Birdie, and Birdie sort of they become part of the character, they're around when Lark needs them, as like a support person for them. Lark also has a very 20k followers on Twitter, so they're very intense in that kind of space, and they seem to have latched onto the idea that if they have a very high Twitter following, they will have more chances of getting a book deal for this Birdie story. The thing is, the Birdie story has not been finished, it's not been edited, it's not been worked through. They're very much working off of this screaming passion to get this stuff done quickly and get it done now. That feeling of being a teenager and everything needs to happen now, when actually you've got so much of your life to do so much of that. But Lark really struggles with that in the beginning. So this whole book is set during the summer, when they're at a writing workshop, not out or anything like that. They're staying at home and everything, but they're doing writing workshops during the off time. And there's a couple of tensions between some of the people there, especially as the name suggests, Kasim. Kasim used to be best friends with Lark. He's a trans guy, and he that something happened between him and Lark, and their relationship has definitely changed. And certain things transpire, and Kasim ends up mistakenly tweeting something on Lark's account, on their main account, instead of on his own account. And Lark takes credit for the thread because it goes viral, and ends up, because it was about unrequited love, and ends up declaring their feelings for someone that they have a little bit of a crush on, but they don't really know very well. And sort of things get a little bit messy from then on. But this book is really about Lark trying to learn not to be so obsessed with other people's opinions of them, and thinking about public opinion, thinking about their Twitter followers, thinking about what publishers are they going to think, instead of letting the creativity flow, letting certain sensitivities get in the way of being able to really communicate with Kasim about what was happening in their friendship. But Lark makes so much progress, and there's so much but Lark makes so much progress as a character. They really grow, they really mature, they really learn, their communication gets better, which is what I love about Callender Callender's writing. Their characters have proper, well-rounded character development, and there's so much representation in this. Most of the people, I think all of the characters in here just about are black. There's a bunch of neurodivergent people in here. Lark themselves is neurodivergent. There's a hefty portion of trans characters, which is absolutely wonderful. And Callender Callender's wonderful writing. And there's even polyrep in here. There is a teenage triad in here. And it's really well communicated. What? If anyone could handle it well, it would be Callender Callender. So yeah, Lark and Kasim Started Revolution was well worth waiting for. And that is the end of my crafty reads. I'm nearly finished. I'm not going to pull it because otherwise I might unravel some stuff. I'm nearly finished putting together that bag. Hang on, let me show you. I've got this much. I've got this much to join, and then it's done. Then I just got to do the straps. Nice. Okay, If you liked any of this, I have more content on my Instagram and on my TikTok. All my links are down below. I also have my Kofi link down there, which is like a one-time tip jar if you ever want to support my channel. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. And check you next time.